Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new here. Hello, my name is Roxanne, also known as By Bun, and I'm a mixed media artist, illustrator, and maker of things. One of the things that I really love to do, which actually I don't usually share on YouTube, so this is kind of a bit of a treat, is my Disney junk journal. So I'm very excited to be a video contributor to this year's junk journal challenge hosted by Meg Journals. Hi Meg, thank you for inviting me to participate. I am very excited to tackle today's prompt, which is day 14 pattern. So really quick before we dive into today's prompt, I thought that I would give you just a little bit of a backstory on my particular junk journal and kind of how I fell into it. A little bit how I've used previous junk journaling challenges, and kind of how it also differs a little bit from kind of my usual work. I typically am not, I wouldn't call myself a junk journaler per se, although I guess it's kind of fun with junk journaling. Anyone can do it. There's really no rules. You can kind of go wild and crazy and it's a good time. I use my junk journal as a way of sort of memory keeping. I'm not a scrapbooker. I'm not very good at putting together photo albums. And when I had a kiddo, he's now 4, when I first had a baby, I was kind of like, I had this weird inner mom guilt of like, oh man, I really should be putting together like photo albums or like scrapbooking, documenting life of somehow. But it kind of just went against everything that I normally do because I do a lot of stuff more like in sketchbooks or mixed media art journaling. A lot of my work is kind of spooky, creepy, cute, kind of weird. But one thing that I really love is going to Disneyland. So yes, I am a Disney adult. We go to the parks very often. I'm very fortunate to live nearby. So it's been kind of a newer thing in the last couple of years is being able to go to Disneyland a lot and taking my kiddo there. So it kind of became the best of both worlds here, being able to find a way to document kind of fun memories and events happening in my little family's life, in my kiddo's life, but also kind of merge in my crazy Disneyland obsession. And this was born, which is my crazy Disney junk journal. Yes. Another fun thing is that when you go to Disneyland, I tend to save a lot of stuff. I save the maps, I save receipts, wristbands, random cards, merch receipts, just all of the things. And I found myself kind of holding on to these things and not knowing what to do with them. Hence where the junk journal was born. This is a little golden book journal. It's handmade from Art Journaling the Magic. I will put a link down below. They make these really fun golden book junk journals. It has basically like heavy duty watercolor paper on the inside. And I'll show you just a little bit. It's just really nice, thick watercolor paper, which is great because it kind of gives me the option to paint. It really holds up well to a lot of stuff. If you guys could pick this thing up, it weighs like, you know, it's a brick at this point because I've packed so much stuff into it, and this little journal has really held up. So I will put a link down below to where I got this thing. Also, I will put links down below to anything else that I might mention. I will pop that down below. Of course, I picked the Haunted Mansion little golden book because that is my favorite attraction at the park. And again, I'm really into spooky kind of stuff, so it fit the vibe. As you can see, I've added a lot of stuff to the front and the back of it. And it is pretty full on the inside here as well. I'm literally in the last few sort of blank pages here that I think I'll probably be able to finish this month during Junk Journal January. Today is going to be day 14 pattern, and I've bookmarked a few sort of sample pages where I have kind of used patterns previously, so that might kind of give you a little bit of inspiration. And then we'll lead into kind of what it is that I'm going to be doing today, which I don't entirely know, but I have my bundle ready. So this is kind of a little trick, a little hack that I like to do when I am doing my junk journaling. Now I have filmed all of the days leading up to day 14 over on my Patreon. I actually do most of my Disney junk journaling is over on my Patreon page because I use so many personal photographs and a lot of pictures of my kiddo. I don't necessarily like to put these videos up on YouTube, but for this challenge and for being invited, I'm sort of making the exception. But all of my Disney junk journaling videos live up on Patreon. So I'll put a link down below if you want to see all of the prompts leading up to today, as well as Junk Journal July. I know I'm probably going to say that at some point in this video. I'm gonna cross my wires and say it. I know it. I followed along with the prompts for Junk Journal July, which is sort of the sister challenge to this one, and it was a really great way for me to catch up because I always kind of fall behind working on this thing. I save all the stuff. I have all sorts of storage containers ways that I organize my ephemera. Honestly, the organization system that I use to organize the ephemera and photographs for my Disney junk journal is like its own video, so I'm not going to delve into that. But one of the things that I like to do is utilizing these challenges as a means of catching up, and it really forces you to just crank stuff out, which I think is a really great way to sort of approach a junk journal. And don't worry, we're going to open this up in just a minute. Just hold on tight, don't worry. I really just like to be quick with it. I don't like spending too much time. Sure, there's some spreads in there that I will take time to sort of paint a little bit more in. But then there's definitely moments where I'll just make a flap for something and chuck it in there and it's done. And I have found that utilizing these challenges is a great way to catch up and make a dent in your junk journal ephemera stash that you might have. Something else that I like to do during these challenges is I create what's called bundles. So I will take a look at the prompt list and I actually tackle like 7 prompts at a time. So I do a week kind of at a time. So I'll look at the first 7 prompts and I'll bundle together things that might work for it. So maybe it's like, I have a photograph. Ooh, I want to use this picture for something. Let me curate some ephemera that might go with it. Okay, this would make a cool little flap. Let's bundle it together, put it off to the side. Put a Post-it note on it. That's day 1. How about this thing? We'll bundle this stuff together. There's day 2. And I'll show you that I actually have bundles already ready for the next few days after this. So we have today's prompt. Mind you, I'm filming this in the past, which is very weird. So I'm speaking in future tense. It's actually December at the time that I'm filming this. But here's today's for day 14 pattern. I have had these photographs from when we went to Oogie Boogie Bash sort of stockpiled in here. This was from Oogie Boogie Bash of 2022. I'll talk about it more a little bit later. But I have sort of everything from that, a little map, some of our wristbands. These pictures are mainly the thing that I want to try to utilize. So I've kind of gathered some things together that I might be able to kind of use as materials for my little spread. So that's what I'm hoping to get to today. But just to also show you some other kind of examples, tomorrow's prompt is opposite. So I pulled some black and white imagery. I love this little card from someone had actually sent this to me, 101 Dalmatians. It kind of was the springboard for the idea that I could use opposites, like a whole just black and white page. So I pulled some black and white sort of pictures, again, bundled it together, put a Post-it on it, kind of wrote down what my initial sort of idea or brainstorm was. And now I've kind of got some materials already ready for the next day. Here's another idea. This was for day 16, which is flow. I actually have a picture of myself sketching in a room where this photograph is also on display. So I thought that could be kind of fun, showing like sketchbook flow. And you can see where I kind of brainstorm ideas and I write them on the Post-its, but it really helps me move along quickly. Get through my ephemera, but also not get too distracted. I think it's very easy too, while junk journaling, to kind of be rummaging through your things. But you can see where I allocate a block of time to do the rummaging so that I can then kind of just get my Post-its, get my days in order so that when I actually go to sit down to work, I'm just using the things that are kind of in this stack rather than constantly having to dig through sort of my organizational system, my bags and bins of stuff that I have. This was for day 17. Again, looking ahead, whimsical. I have these really cute pictures from Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. So I thought I would do a little flap here using this magic key card, doodle a little Mr. Toad's ride vehicle, the little car in the background, somehow frame the little picture and use this as like a little tip-in or flap in my junk journal. So yeah, I know this has nothing to do with today's prompt, but I just want to kind of show you kind of how my little system works to get through prompts quickly and again, not get distracted rummaging through the ephemera, because I know that that happens. That is absolutely a thing. All right, so day 14, I definitely want to do like a Hatbox Ghost, Oogie Boogie Bash. We're definitely doing a spooky thing because that's kind of my vibe anyways. So happy January, you're getting spooky stuff. But I did want to do just a quick little flip through of a couple of spreads in here of kind of how I've utilized patterns previously in case you just want to get some different ideas other than the one that I'm going to be working on today. I'm not going to flip through this whole thing because obviously there are some pictures and whatnot that I don't necessarily want to quite reveal on YouTube. So I've selected a few kind of little random ones. I am a big fan of patterns. Big fan of patterns. If you have followed me for a long time, it's probably no surprise that this was the prompt that I picked for today. I love doing patterns. I love them as backgrounds. I do them in my sketchbook. I do them as doodles. Anytime I have an excuse to make a pattern, I will do it because I love it. You'll see back here, I've created just a really simple sort of pattern as a background. And that seems to be one of the kind of default things that I like to do with my junk journal is it's a really great starting place to kind of break the white page. Again, that's kind of specific to my junk journal because, you know, it is white watercolor pages. You might be in something that already has sort of mixed paper or scrapbook paper of ephemera, so it might be something where you're creating the pattern on a separate page and then tipping it in. That could be the situation. But for me, I use it as a way to sort of break up the blank page. I also live by a creative philosophy that more is more. The more stuff I can pack into something, the better. That's just how I kind of operate. So I have this kind of Monsters Inc. thing going on, and I created these little flaps so that underneath there are little sort of like reveals, but there's a pattern that is sort of in the background there. Again, filling up space, breaking the blank page, and it's just fun and kind of on theme for kind of what's going on here. So this was kind of my crazy little flaps with little pictures underneath, which I thought was fun. Again, all Monsters Inc. sort of theme. Moving ahead, I've got a whole Jesse's Carousel sort of theme here. This is a ride that's over at DCA. That is my kid's favorite, and I wanted to capture this little moment because we have a little routine. We call it the carousel kiss. We always give each other a little kiss before the carousel starts. It's just like a fun little tradition that we do. This is one of his favorite rides. I loved this big picture that I had and kind of stuck all that in there. But again, pattern in the background first, and this was a pattern inspired by the little embroidery that's actually on Jesse's shirt. So it's kind of all the theme. Again, I had this stuff already in my bundle, right? So I could very quickly kind of look at it and assess, okay, what's like a big pattern I can just throw in the background that will look cool and kind of bring all of my crazy little elements together. Moving ahead to this page here, this is another great sort of easy thing to do, especially when I don't have necessarily like a thematic page, is just creating a little bit of a watercolor sort of background and then adding a Posca pen on top. Again, breaking up the white space. I hate just blank white space, drives me crazy. But in this case, it was really kind of more open-ended to where I could kind of add anything else I wanted on top. So whether that was, again, a little flap here. I also think there's still a lot of space here for me to kind of add things onto later, whether it's another picture or another tip-in or flap or something. This was some Happy Mail that someone had sent me, so I kind of used it as an envelope and tucked in these are like really old maps. That's kind of like, I didn't want to cut them up because they're so cool. Like, this is an attraction that is no longer there. So it was just a cool park map that I really wanted to save and kind of added that little pocket there. So this was just like a really basic, simple kind of pattern in the background to where I could, again, kind of put anything on top of it, even if it wasn't necessarily like thematic. Here's again sort of like a haunted mansion kind of page, but with this example, I used a pattern more as just kind of to fill in nooks and crannies. So I don't think I had this pattern all over the page first. I kind of collaged everything in and then came back in and added some acrylic paint and again Posca marker on top to create the little pattern on top, just to fill in, again, kind of space. But also just painting in a pattern like this is a great way to avoid bulk if you are trying not to chunk things up. Obviously, I don't really care in this particular journal, but it's a great way to just kind of fill in space without adding more stuff or weight to your pages. This one here is a little bit more loose, but I would still consider this a bit of a pattern. Again, a space filler for things. And something else that I really like to do too is draw patterns kind of inspired by ephemera that's already happening on the page. So I had this sort of old like popcorn paper bag and it had some kind of popcorn sitting at the top. So I just kind of drew inspiration from that. And with some acrylic paint in the background, just kind of scribbled some colored pencil on top to sort of like continue the popcorn vibes. And, you know, it's doodly, it's loose, but I still would definitely consider this, again, a pattern because it's kind of like it falls into the background, right? And even in some places where I have some space, like I could see myself even adding like a flap or like a pocket right here. There's definitely some space for it there. But again, it becomes kind of like a background element and a great way to just kind of build more stuff on top. Also, you can see kind of a little hint to some previous prompts from this month. We've got Stitched, or Stitch, I think was, I don't remember what day it was, but was happened to fall on this page as well. All right, so flipping back now, this is the spread that I'm going to be working on. I don't know if I'm going to fill up this whole thing because a big part of kind of my junk journaling is that sometimes I'll set up pages. I won't necessarily like complete a full spread, but I will certainly get it kind of going because I like to kind of return back to pages and add more or add a flap or put in another picture. Like it's always kind of a work in progress, especially when I'm tackling like a full two-page kind of spread. So I've got my little bundle here. And I know for sure one of the first things I want to do is lay a pattern into my background. I want to break up that white space and again, kind of use it a little bit thematically. I know that I really want to, my main goal here is to get these little Hatbox photos in. So I think something with sort of Hatbox colors would be kind of cute. The Haunted Mansion colors, sort of like a blue-green kind of combo, maybe a purple-green. I'm not entirely sure. I will just get out all the things and sort of start to play around and we'll see where I end up. Also here I'm using some clips. These are just some really cheapy giant chip clips that I got from the dollar store, but they're very handy for keeping chunky books open like this, especially this side when it weighs like 5 pounds. So there you have it. All right, at this point now, I'm gonna put you into voiceover mode. So there'll be a little version of me up in the top corner, sort of talking you through everything that I'm doing. And otherwise, I will see you in voiceover mode as we tackle a pattern. Hello, voiceover bun coming in hot. Picture-in-picture bun coming in hot. I tend to do this with these videos just so that you can kind of see a little bit of what I'm doing, but also kind of talking you through it at the same time. So if you get bored looking at me up in the corner, you can just watch what's happening on screen, which is actually at this moment very straightforward. Because these Golden Book journals come with this really thick watercolor paper, I'm able to do moves like this, where I basically am doing a wet on wet sort of watercolor ink technique. I am soaking these pages with water and then just dropping in some acrylic ink. Again, I will try to link to kind of the things that I'm using in this video and things that I sort of mention. I will try to link as much as I can down below for you in the description box. But this is a really great technique. Easy way to just throw some color on. And this aligns very closely to just my general sort of junk journal vibe, which is like, how quickly can I get this put together, you know? Because I think that's what makes it a junk journal. You know, it's not a scrapbook where things are like absolutely meticulously sort of put together. Yes, I do tinker a lot, which we'll get to that in a minute. But sort of just making these really messy kind of quick backgrounds for me, just it fits my vibe. It fits the junk journal kind of essence here. And what I did is I did that kind of wet on wet technique, just water, dropping some acrylic ink in there. And then I actually took a paper towel and just sort of lifted up some of the color, creating a little bit more texture, kind of giving it almost like a tie-dye kind of vibe a little bit. And that's because I know I'm going to be coming in with a Posca paint marker on top to then create my pattern, which is just doodling on top of that, you know, kind of wash of color that I've already got going on. And of course, while I'm waiting for those pages to dry, which is what you're watching here now, I'm starting to go through that batch, that pile that I kind of have already created for myself. And because I've already created that little pile of ephemera, I'm making my life really easy. I have a little limited pile of stuff that I'm kind of working with here, that I'm pulling from, trimming down, and starting to kind of really create like a rough layout. This is actually kind of I wouldn't say rare, but it's less common that I actually do like a full spread like this. There's only a handful of these throughout my actual junk journal. Most of the time I'm doing sort of like little moments, like tip-ins or just one page or half a page. And that's where the junk journal challenge is really helpful for that, is that you can just kind of have those little like moments throughout your junk journal rather than the pressure of feeling like you need to do a full spread. I think I was more inclined to do a full spread with this because I had a lot of materials. This was a couple of pages that I've really wanted to do for a long time. Obviously, I've been sitting on this stuff since 2022, so I really needed to get this down. And I was really enjoying my pattern that I'm creating here as well. Just using a Posca marker on top, it creates some nice contrast, some nice color pop. And it's really fun even just exploring different color combos of like watercolor or ink in the background with then your paint pen on top. But you can see my pattern is really simple. I'm keeping it really, really easy, very much like a doodle. I kind of did this weird sort of wallpaper kind of thing going on here. The doodle sort of calls to a little bit of the wallpaper in Haunted Mansion, but like a very tamed down version of it. It also really reminds me a lot of the iron railing that's kind of on the Haunted Mansion and sort of all over throughout New Orleans Square. It really does fit the motif of sort of the land and the attraction. So I kind of wanted to lean into that a little bit. Same with the color choices that I kind of went with. Even just this green Posca here is like the perfect green. It matches like the cast member costume green that they wear, at the Haunted Mansion. The blue and the purple on the other side is very Hatbox Ghost sort of vibes. And that's just something that I really enjoy doing in my junk journal, are these sort of like really themed out kind of pages and things that I've really kind of curated together. It's kind of my moment to allow my Disney adult freak flag to fly here, because it's so vastly different than all of my sort of usual work that I do. But there's something just really fun about this, right? And it just brings me a lot of joy. Like, I have to tell you, even just looking back at the footage of this, putting this together, it makes me so happy. And I always really enjoy when I allow myself that time, like, I allocate blocks of time to just work in this junk journal. And I think that's why too, I enjoy working on a bunch of prompts at once, because I can sort of like binge junk journal all at one time. And I just really enjoy it. A couple of the things that I do want to mention here is the photographs. I have a little Canon Ivy mini printer. I love it. It's for the most part very user-friendly. The battery doesn't last long on it, but so long as you are close to a USB plug, it's pretty easy. The app itself is very handy, but it prints on sticker paper. So those little photos, they come out sticky and you can just stick them anywhere. And you'll even see in my tinkering here, which is what I kind of call this phase where I'm just sort of tinkering and moving things around. You'll see I even kind of reposition a couple of them, which you can do. Not like, I don't think you're supposed to, but I do it anyways. But I love the little photos. And it's kind of the only time that I really print photos for stuff is for this journal, because there's always such amazing photos that we have after our Disney days. And I just want to save and cherish them all. Something else that I want to talk about that I know you guys are going to bring up, that you're going to say is, you took all this time making this pattern and now you're just covering it. What's the point? Well, a couple of things. Number one, you do see it peek out quite a bit all over this, especially on the sort of right side of the spread where just the wristbands are sort of like flopped over. You lift that up, you're getting full pattern view there. And they kind of move around a little bit too. So you're getting the pattern sort of peeking out underneath. But I also have a bit of a philosophy other than the more is more, meaning how much stuff, the more stuff I put into a journal or a spread or just my own artwork, the better. I just really like visual creative chaos. So my junk journal reflects that. But I'm also a big believer of what I call authentic layers. And that's where I think it's worth the work of doing a true like corner to corner layer of something, even if I end up covering over a lot of it and it's just stuff sort of peeking through. I think that there's a big visual difference seeing a pattern that has been naturally done all over the background versus one that you're adding in on top of. And you can even see that in some of my sort of pattern samples that I showed you guys at the beginning. Those patterns where I took the time to just do the full page with it, and very, very simple, right? Doodly, just lines with a paint pen sort of thing, versus let's say that Madame Leota sort of other Haunted Mansion spread that I had going on, I came in on top and added the pattern sort of around things. It has a different look. It really does. So for me, I think it's worth it if you keep your pattern simple. Again, creating just a big wash of color, coming in and doodling with a paint pen on top. It's a really great way to kind of just create that all over pattern really quickly so that you won't feel as guilty I don't feel guilty about it, but maybe you do. You won't feel as guilty coming in and putting stuff on top. A few other things I want to mention here. I'm now kind of adding my little washi tape finale. I get a lot of my Disney washi tape and sort of cute stickers from No White Space Stickers. Again, I'll put a link down below. There's also another artist that I really love, Mare Bear Press. She does really great digital downloads on her Patreon. She also has an Etsy shop with really great stickers. That's that little Hatbox ghost sticker guy that I came in and added later. That's from Mare Bear Press. I love her stuff, and it's just so fun. And of course, another reason for me to buy Disney ephemera, right, is it's for the Disney junk journal. Gotta do it. Oh, and that glitter washi tape. I'm obsessed with that glitter washi tape, and I don't use it really anywhere else except in this junk journal, but it's such a fun, like, little icing on top that I just really love. If you're gonna use glitter washi somewhere, it's gonna be in a Disney junk journal. Am I right? All right, so here's a look at the final spread. My little Hatbox Ghost Oogie Boogie mashup going on here. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video as well. Of course, if you want to see more Disney junk journal content from me, that's going to be over on my Patreon. I've already got 2 videos up, kind of showing the prompts up until this point, and of course, I'm going to be continuing the rest of the challenge. All those videos will be up over there. If you're new here, maybe consider subscribing. I put out a new video every week and do all sorts of fun stuff: vlogs, mixed media, illustrations, sketchbooks. All the things are happening all the time. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to Make Journals for inviting me to collab, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.